Hello everyone. This video is going to be about crimes that was committed on Halloween. And I have a lot of Halloween stuff to go over. So I'm not waiting until closer to the date. But usually Halloween crimes are thought of as the mayhem of demented strangers who enjoy poisoning kids or putting razor blades in apples. But crimes committed on Halloween are much more serious and more real than those urban legends. However, it is always a good idea to check the kids' candy because you never know when a psycho is going to try to recreate one of those legends. There have been numerous murders, kidnappings, and assaults that have taken place on October 31st, and many are directly related to the festivities of the holiday. While it remains debatable as to whether or not there is a spike in crime on Halloween, there is no debate that all of these particular assaults happened in connection with the holiday. Many of these crimes have been carried out by people who took advantage of the occasion to wear a costume and fool their victims for just long enough to kill them. Others involved people out trick-or-treating or returning from parties late at night. But as with most violent crimes in general that happen on Halloween are usually committed either by someone known to the victim or in a case of mistaken identity. In a few cases, the crime has never been solved and years or decades have gone by with no closure for the loved ones of the victims. And I'll start it by the poisoning of Timothy O'Brien. While the vast majority of Halloween scare stories about razor blades and apples or poison candy are either urban legends or moral panics, one story is, unfortunately, completely true. 8-year-old Timothy O'Brien had a packet of pixie sticks given to him by his father, Ronald, to cap off his trick-or-treating. He perished less than an hour later. The tragic event sent the O'Briens' small Texas town into a panic, and the police determined that the pixie stick that Timothy ate was laced with cyanide. When Ronald's story kept changing, police began investigating him. They found him to be deeply in debt and that he'd taken out massive life insurance policies on his children. Police found that the other children had also been given candy by Ronald, but hadn't eaten it yet. Ronald O'Brien was found guilty of the murder and was executed in 1984. Murders of Leslie Mazzara and Adrian Esogna. Late on Halloween night 2004, roommates Leslie and Adrian went to bed after handing out candy. A third roommate, Lauren, was woken at 1 a.m. by the sounds of a scuffle. Not knowing what was happening, she ran in terror from the house. When the coast was clear, she ran back upstairs and found both of her roommates dead. Throughout the investigation, FBI agents found cigarette butts near the scene of the crime that matched blood evidence inside the house, but found no known matches in any DNA database. Officers and FBI agents spoke of nearly 1,000 persons of interest during the investigation, including one of Esogna's friends, Lily. Her husband, Eric Koppel, became a person of interest during the investigation when he began avoiding the police. Nearly a year after the crime, Koppel turned himself in and confessed to the crime. At the time of the crime, Koppel was only engaged to the friend of one of his victims and carried on with the wedding thinking he was in the clear. This quote from Adrian's mother, Arlene Allen, gives a chilling insight into the slayer who thought he had got away with it. "You are the man who is so cruel as to invite me, the mother of the woman you murdered, to stand up for you at your wedding, to read scripture to you of love and death, and to bless your union." That's some messed up stuff right there. The Lisk family murders. On Halloween 2010, Ohio teenager Devin Griffin returned home from Sunday church services to find his brother Derek, mother Susan, and Susan's new husband William Lisk murdered. Devin was so traumatized he could only say that the scene was like something out of a haunted house. The culprit was found to be William Lisk's son from a previous marriage, William Lisk Jr., who had a history of schizophrenia and aggression. Lisk was later picked up and pleaded guilty to all 3 murders. He took his own life in prison in 2015. The murder of Carl Jackson. Bronx resident Carl Jackson was a 21-year-old data entry clerk at Morgan Stanley. On Halloween night, 1998, Jackson went with his girlfriend to pick up her young son from a party. While there, some teenagers threw eggs at their car, but the classic Halloween prank soon turned ugly. Jackson got out of his car, exchanged words with the teens, and got back in the car. Then one of the teens pulled out a sidearm and shot Jackson, ending his life instantly. Police later arrested 17-year-old Curtis Sterling for the crime. The Woodbridge Abductions. In 2009, 3 teenage girls were abducted by a man on their way home from trick-or-treating in Woodbridge, Virginia. All 3 were taken at gunpoint to a wooded area, and 2 were sexually assaulted. The 3rd girl was able to call her mother, causing the man to flee. Police arrested Aaron Thomas, who was already a suspect in numerous sexual assault cases since the 1990s. Thomas pleaded guilty to the crime in 2012. Yoshihiro Hattori. Yoshihiro was a Japanese exchange student living in Baton Rouge as part of the American Field Service Program. On Halloween night, 1992, Hattori and the young son of his host family went to a Halloween party for AFS students. Unfamiliar with the neighborhood where the party was, the boys rang the doorbell of the wrong house. When they got no answer, they started walking back to their car. The owner of the home, Rodney Piers, something like that, then opened the door armed with a .44 Magnum. Hattori turned around and said, "We're here for the party," claiming he feared for his life and that the exchange student was scary. Piers shot Hattori, ending his life. Only when both the governor of Louisiana and the Japanese consulate got involved was Piers arrested, after which he was acquitted of manslaughter. Murders of Ronald Sussman and Elizabeth Plattsman. Sometime in the early hours of Halloween 1981, Manhattan couple Ronald Sussman and Elizabeth Plattsman were slain in their Chelsea apartment. The couple was severely beaten before being shot execution-style, with the apartment completely ransacked. New York police initially believed drug money to be the motive, but then the case took a turn for the bizarre. A prison informant claimed that one of his fellow inmates had predicted the crime weeks before it actually happened. The inmate turned out to be the son of Sam killer, David Berkowitz. Berkowitz had long been rumored to be involved with a satanic cult that helped him with some of his misdeeds. According to the informant, Berkowitz had told him that his cult was planning to enter a residence near Greenwich Village. Chelsea would qualify for that, on Halloween to carry out the ritual slaying. When questioned, Berkowitz claimed that Sussman had footage of one of the Son of Sam shootings and was planning to hand it over to the authorities in exchange for dropping some controlled substance charges. While no evidence was found to support Berkowitz's claims, he was basically right about the description of Sussman's apartment. The crime is still unsolved. You know, I have actually wrote to David Berkowitz. I think I'll go through one of these, a few of these videos and actually just read some of the letters from the serial killers that I have written to. He's one of them. And I think if he would have actually done it, he would have admitted to it. Pasadena gang shootings. On Halloween night, 1993, a group of 5 Pasadena gang members opened fire on trick-or-treating teenagers returning from a party, killing 3 and wounding 3 others. The gang members were soon arrested, and police determined they had fired at the wrong people. 3 Bloods were found guilty of the crime. Murder of Peter Fagiano. Los Angeles hairstylist Peter Fagiano was slain on Halloween night 1957. He opened his door for what he thought was a trick-or-treater, but was actually a grown-up in a costume. The adult shot Fagiano in the chest with a .22 in a brown paper bag before fleeing the scene. Several weeks later, Goldine Pfizer and Joanne Robel were arrested in what turned out to be a plotted crime of passion. Pfizer was friends or possibly in a relationship with Robel, and Robel was also apparently in love with Fabiano's wife, Betty. The 2 women conspired to get Peter out of the equation, and Robel bought a sidearm for Pfizer to shoot Peter with. The arrest kicked off a firestorm of lurid coverage as lesbians were seen as abnormal monsters with dangerous urges. The 2 pleaded guilty and served long prison terms. I don't know. The old cases where it involves the LGBTQ, that kind of just, I don't know. They had some weird thinking back then. Taylor Van Diest murder. On Halloween 2011, Taylor Van Diest was leaving a party in a small town of Armstrong, Canada. She never came home and was found beaten to death near a set of railroad tracks. The event traumatized the town, especially after it was revealed that she'd sent a text to her boyfriend before the attack saying she was being creeped on. Police eventually used DNA found under Taylor's fingernails to arrest Matthew Forrester for carrying out the deed and his father Stephen for helping him cover it up. Murder of Marvin Brandlin. Fort Dodge, Iowa resident Marvin Brandlin and his wife were handing out candy to trick-or-treaters in 1982 when a man wearing a mask came to their door. He said, "Trick or treat. Give me your money or I'll shoot." The Brandlins thought it was a Halloween prank and tried to remove the man's mask. Instead, he barged into the house and pulled out the sidearm, demanding that the couple give him the money they had stashed in their basement safe. Marvin made a grab for the masked man's gun, and the robber shot Marvin in the throat. He then ran away, but left the mask behind. In the years that followed, Marvin's wife perished, and the mask was tested for DNA evidence. As virtually nobody knew about the safe, suspicion fell on the Brandlins' family, and the family member did brag about committing the robbery. But there's never been enough evidence to charge him. Death of Chris Jenkins. Chris Jenkins was a 21-year-old student at the University of Minnesota who was last seen leaving a downtown Minneapolis bar on Halloween night in 2002. 4 months later, his body was discovered in the Mississippi River, still wearing his Halloween costume. Since Chris was intoxicated that night and he appeared to have drowned, authorities initially believed his demise was either an accident or self-inflicted. But his parents refused to believe this and pressed for a more thorough investigation. Finally, in 2006, the death was reclassified as a homicide. Police claimed that an incarcerated suspect told them he was present when Chris was slain, then thrown off the bridge into the river. While the story is credible, there's never been enough evidence to file charges. However, one possible theory is that Chris Jenkins could have been a victim in the mysterious and unsolved Smiley Face murders. I actually wrote to him too. These bizarre killings involved approximately 40 male college students in the United States who all drowned. In some of these cases, unexplained smiley face graffiti was found near the body of water where the targets turned up. While no smiley face graffiti was ever found in connection to Chris Jenkins' death, the scenario does have a number of similarities to these killings, and it remains unsolved. Disappearance of Cindy Song. Penn State grad student Cindy Song disappeared. Well, I lost that one. Hang on. It's storming here, so things are going kind of crazy. Let's see. Well, anyway, while I'm trying to get this to pull back up, I have actually written to a lot of serial killers, and I do believe that I will start running across some of their crimes and stuff that they have done, and at the end of each video I will read the letter that I got from them. For example, Samuel Little, he actually wrote to me. I was the last one that he wrote to. He mailed the letter and died before I got the letter. So, okay, so I've got this pulled back up now. Penn State grad student Cindy Song disappeared after leaving a party on Halloween night 2001. She'd been dropped off at her apartment and had gone inside, but nobody saw her after that, and no traces of her has ever been found. The case was taken a number of bizarre twists, and for a while the investigation focused on a man named Hugo Marcus Selinski. Selinski had been arrested after 5 corpses were found in his backyard. A police informant linked Selinski and another man to Cindy, claiming the duo had kidnapped, raped, and murdered her. To make things even weirder, the other man named in the kidnapping was found dead in Selinski's backyard. More bodies have been found there, but none of them have been proven to be Cindy, and the case remains open. So yeah, that's just some of the crimes and stuff that have been committed on Halloween. And as you can see, only one of them had the, or was it 2 of them, had the candy involved. So just take this warning, check your kids' candy. You never know when the psycho is going to be next door. But anyway, I'll be putting out a couple of more videos tonight while I actually have a chance, because my boss let me off early. So take care, everyone.